What's up, everybody? I'm Big John G, the best super heavyweight in the world today. And today, I'm drinking at Moe's.
All right, buddy, welcome to Drinkin Moe's. Big Mo here. Be sure YouTube, like, subscribe, all that stuff everybody says because that YouTube algorithm's a pain in the ass. We're on pretty much anywhere you can get your podcasts. Today, I'm excited to have with me John Gilbert. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. Show's picking up steam. I had my first interview episode get over 100 views, which, for some that are, like Sean Ross Sapp level, that's kind of small beans I can see. But, for me, being in the spot where I'm still going off of word of mouth, getting up there, pretty good thing. And it was with a guy that, I kind of admire, Insane Lane, so it was pretty sweet. But like I said, can't complain. First thing I like to start off with everybody with is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you started, getting into wrestling. Because everybody's got their own story on
that. So I'd say like what drew me in as a fan was Shawn Michaels' attire in the 90s, like the long earrings, the chains, all that. Like that really like brought me in. And then Jeff Hardy in like the early 2000s.
Okay.
Just all of that like together like really sparked my interest, not necessarily in wrestling at first, just in like what they were wearing and how they were acting. And then it brought me into wrestling.
The showmanship aspect of it, along with those two guys, because I can imagine, in a way, very similar showmanship. The over the top. Just very, very cool.
Oh yeah.
And what got you started? Wanting to make the leap into actually getting in there.
So I actually played high school football, and I went on to play a little bit of college football. And when that didn't work out, I was just sitting at home, and I was still a fan of wrestling. And I saw where like actually my supervisor at work just started being a rep. And so I saw on Facebook where this other company was looking for a referee. And so I hit them up and I was like, hey, I'm interested. And they're like, yeah, come to the show Saturday. So I go to work and I'm like bragging to my supervisor that I was going to be a way better referee than he ever was. And he actually talked to the company that he worked for, which was the World Wrestling Alliance in Western Kentucky, and then asked if I wanted to go there instead. And I was like, yeah. And so then I did that and started training. At first I started selling merchandise. And then Ray Waddell was like pretty precise about getting me to start training. And so like we would set up on a Friday and we would train for like an hour and a half Friday afternoon. And we did that probably up until COVID. And then once COVID happened, it shut everything down. But we set up, they had a 16 ring we set up in their backyard, and we would go down there on Saturdays and we'd train. So
that's cool. Like I said, everybody's got their own story. Everybody had their own lead into how they found out about getting trained and all that. So I always enjoy hearing other people's stories when it comes to that. One thing, when going through doing my homework, seeing some of matches, big imposing force in the ring from what I've seen. And sorry, I'm keep my little, well, not so little Great Dane puppies trying to get my attention right now. So
I love dogs. I love dogs.
Me too. My wife and I unfortunately lost our senior English bulldog on Saturday night. So,
Oh no.
the other English bulldog we have is, yeah, you can tell he knows something's up.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the good stuff. I was mentioning, I wanted to point this out, that I saw a picture of, it looked like a before and after picture. Sorry, I was having a bit of a tongue twister there, where it looks like you slimmed down a little bit.
Yeah. So when I actually first started wrestling in 2020, I went and got my Kentucky wrestling physical, and I weighed 450 pounds.
Ooh.
And so I had a good buddy, Dallas. He started on the keto diet, and he was like, "Hey, try this out. You can eat steak, you can eat chicken, you can eat all this meat. Just watch your carb intake." And I was like, "All right." So I did that, and man, I was eating everything. Like I was eating enough where like people that weren't like working out or dieting was like, "Hey man, you're trying to lose weight, but you're still eating all that, and how are you not getting fat?" And so like I was doing that, and I was working out intense 5-6 days a week. And so I actually dropped down to about 350.
Oh,
And
that's pretty good.
For like the past 6 months, Jake Chris was really adamant. Me and him teamed for a little bit. He was real adamant to get in the gym and get tan. So for the past 6 months, like I've been doing nothing but heavy lifting, cardio, tanning. So tan goes a long way too. So it's like if I was pale, I wouldn't look that much different. But
okay, that's different. But yeah, no, there is that bit of a look that I hear a lot of guys talking about how when being out there, and if you're one of those that has a shirt off, you don't want to look pale all over the place.
Yeah.
So I get you. Oh yeah. And reason I kind of bring up the big men aspect of it is there's that I like to go with, in my head, I'm thinking of big men that kind of move around more athletically than you'd think a big man would. Like guys that I'm thinking of, like one that comes in particular that a lot of people would know, Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yeah.
Guy that, one of my favorites of all time. And good God, a guy his size moving around as athletically as he did, something else. And a guy that I'm actually friends with down in California where I was stationed, I remember first time I ever saw him do this, a big dude pulled off a standing moonsault just from standing on the mat. And I'm like, my jaw dropped. And I'm like, next time I brought a friend to the show, and I'm like, oh man. And I could tell when he was about to do it. So I looked over and I'm like, watch this. Same reaction. So what is it like, wrestling nowadays has kind of moved a little bit of away from the big man's game, but there's still that space for the big men out there.
Oh,
what
yeah.
is it like?
See, that's what I thought too. I thought for the longest time that like big men wrestling wasn't around anymore. Nobody wanted to see that. But then like once I started truly working like a big man, it's a rarity, So a lot of promoters are trying to eat that up, and get a good big man in there. There's a lot of big men, and then there's a lot of big men, and then there's a lot of big men that don't wrestle like big men. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't, like it's super different, because when I first started, like I can do it like a standing cross body, I can do a step up NZ, like I can do that stuff, but it wouldn't make sense. And so like that was my biggest thing, was like like getting trained and coming up through training, and then teaming with Jake. Like I always wanted to do these like super cool moves that I thought would get over, but it wouldn't. It'd just pop the boys in the back, and it's like, that's not what you're trying to do. So,
oh yeah, no, that's the thing with you bring up. I hear it quite a bit. The doing the big moves is all cool and everything, but making it make sense. For the big guys, it's a little differently because you might be able to pull off some of the more cruiserweight type moves, but how can you make it make sense in your matches? And like, the guy that I brought up, his name's Terex, and he always had it at that standing moonsault at a point where it's like, what's the one thing left that he can do to really put this guy down?
oh
and
yeah,
that's when dog just bit my foot, but that's when he would pull that out of his tricks.
oh yeah,
And I always like seeing stuff like that because you see people talking about even the cruiserweight type people doing, who are, maybe it make more sense for them to do those moves more often, but then it gets a little overdone. So then it's like you have those people that mix everything in together that really can pull out a match.
oh yeah.
One question I'm trying to remember. My handwriting was a little like shit today, but thing that I wanted to go over is some wrestlers have, where they live it so much that they don't necessarily go back and, in their free time watch it. Is there anybody that you actually do go back and watch? Like, are you an avid wrestling watcher outside of when you're performing?
So yeah, like I'll watch wrestling like as a worker, and like watch Yokozuna, One Man Gang, Big John Studd, like all the old time big men. And then as a fan, man, I still go back to the Jeff Hardy early 2000s and Shawn Michaels in the 90s.
Oh yeah, no, I can agree with you there. I not necessarily so much from the worker aspect of it, because I'm not full-time wrestler, but I do have the people that I'll watch current day, but then there's always those ones I like to go back to that really drew me in. Like,
oh yeah,
I was just thinking, because as I was pulling out a beer before we started recording, I actually have some Stone Cold Steve Austin's American Lager in there. My absolute all-time favorite right there. So I always love going back and watching some of his old stuff. Some others, maybe you agree with some of these. You brought up Jeff Hardy. He had a bit of history with the Briscoes, the Briscoe brothers. Those are
oh yeah,
huge into tag team wrestling, and love those guys. Rest in peace, Jay. They just just had his funeral as of recording of this last Sunday, and I'm kind of happy for Mark in a way that some of that he's actually getting out, be able to be out there on AEW television now, because everybody was all up in arms about, they wanted a big tribute.
yeah.
And Warner had their heads up their ass. But now, whatever happened, they got it worked out, and it sounded like he's welcome on there from now on. So definitely happy about that.
Oh yeah, me too.
Because like I said, me being a big fan of tag team wrestling, guys like those guys, oh, Matt and Jeff, the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, going all the way back to the Legion of Doom. Those guys,
Oh yeah,
all-time favorite tag teams. It's definitely for me top two. Well, top three. I'll go top three. Legion of Doom, Dudley's, Briscoes. I think actually I recorded for I do this little my 2 cents thing where I do some wrestling news, but then I've started to do my Mount Rushmore of this or that. There's always that discussion. All three of those teams are on my all-time tag team Mount Rushmore.
those are some solid teams too.
Oh yeah, no, I remember getting to see the Legion of Doom live one time at a Monday Night Raw taping, and I've mentioned this story a few times before that Stone Cold Steve Austin and Legion of Doom are the only two that have had me on my feet from the time the music hit to the time they went back. I'm like, I just so hyped up. I'm like, oh my God. Have you had many experiences like that with yourself?
No, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say I have really.
It can be very limited. When people do have those experiences, you really have that connection with whoever it might be. Back to you though. Have you got a whole any upcoming shows? Sorry, brain fart moment. Upcoming shows that you're particularly excited about, because I know independent wrestlers, they can get those weekends booked up rather quick.
Oh yeah, I wrestle for a company called King of Sports around Dallas, Texas, and
Okay.
I'm super excited every show I get with them because they have their own super heavyweight division.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they've got a beautiful super heavyweight title, everything. Like it's phenomenal. We did a show there in I want to say November, and one of Kerry Von Erich's daughters actually came to the show and said that it was what Texas wrestling should be.
That is awesome. That
Yeah.
high compliment right there. Von Erich's, especially that part, wrestling royalty.
Yeah, but I'd say I'm excited for all my shows really, because it's like at the end of the day, a promoter don't have to book me. So
no, that is a good way to put it and a good way to look at it. If you're not excited about getting out there and getting in front of everybody and getting people to cheer or boo the hell out of you, whatever side of the coin you're on, then it's like, what are you really doing?
Yeah.
Lastly, here I have two categories I always like to go over. One's a bit of a name game. That's the one I'll start off with, where I'll name off some wrestlers. You give me your thoughts on them.
Okay.
First one, a guy that I've talked to about being on the show, but he's a damn machine with how busy his schedule is. John Wayne Murdoch.
He's a machine. Honestly, I haven't really met him, but I saw some of his stuff that he did at IWA and some of his other death matches, and the ones where he had with Jake Christ probably brought me into being a deathmatch fan.
Oh yeah, that would be one that I would say did it. I know I've actually had Jake Christ on, and it was shortly after he released that video of him burning the IWA Mid-South belt. And I'm like, you got a grievance, I got a show. Let's air it. And he was all for it. He's been nothing but nice.
Yeah, Jake's a phenomenal guy. So funny story about that. Actually, I don't know if I should tell it, but I was actually in a group. It was me, Jake, and Bobby. And Jake sent a message like that morning and was like, "Ian, don't pay me. I'm gonna burn his belts." And so I was at work and I was like, "Oh, I was like, Jake's not gonna burn the belts. Jake's gonna get his money. Blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And then I was clocking out, and he like texts Bobby, and he was like, "Hey Bob, come pick me up in like 10 to 15." Or no, he was like, "Hey Bob, meet me at the park in 10 to 15." And then like 2 hours later, there's a video of him burning the belt. And I was like, this is priceless.
Oh yeah. I know when I first saw that, I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah.
And then hearing the story behind all of it, it's like, okay, I get it.
Oh yeah. And like that's the thing too, is like Jake's such a nice guy. And it's like you make Jake that mad, so it's like Ian deserved it. 100% Ian deserved it.
Oh yeah. No, he as in Ian has definitely burned his bridges to the ground with more people than I can count.
Oh yeah.
Next person on the list, a guy that I was kind of surprised in a way to see challenging for the Impact X Division Championship recently, Action Mike Jackson.
He's a wonderful guy. I actually worked a show in Alabama. I worked a Spartan wrestling show, and Mike Jackson was on there. Such a nice guy.
I've heard that about him. I hear he's a great guy to be around.
Yeah, super nice, very humble guy. It's actually what you should aspire to be like as a wrestler.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Hopefully one day I'll get to meet him myself. Next up, god damn dog. I'll for the video. I'll show if I can.
Oh,
she's trying to get my attention here. But anyways, next one on the list here, a guy that a lot of people thought was going to be making his return to a different promotion, but he is back with AEW, running the House of Black, Malachi Black.
He's phenomenal. Like the way he wrestles, his promos, everything's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, very, very unique in all aspects. In ring, promos, with what they're doing with the House of Black, and that whole, I'm loving the whole thing where it's like they'll step out of the pitch black and then go back in at the end of something pretty damn awesome. Next one, a guy that has a little history with the first guy on the list. There's a reason they call him the god of that shit. Nick fucking Gage.
Oh man. I think he's priceless. I was in Vegas for my buddy's bachelor party, and we went to a GCW show, and Nick Gage was there. And if you have not seen Nick Gage live, you've got to. It was on a whole nother level.
No, it's on my bucket list. That's for damn sure. I've talked to a few guys that done work with GCW. One in particular I didn't think I was ever going to get, and Alex Colon. So I'm always saying, man, I wish GCW would get closer to me than like St. Louis, because as much as I can make it to St. Louis, when it comes to driving, that's still 8 hours or so. And I'm like,
Yeah.
As much as I would love to, there's times where I might have to do a little bit of planning in advance to try to make that big of a trip by myself.
Oh, yeah.
But, oh, man, every time I watch one of the GCW shows and I see his music hit and just the way the crowd just rushes over there and he's just,
oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
It's a real life mosh pit.
Oh, that I was going to say, judging from every time I've watched it, it does seem like a damn mosh pit every time he steps out of that curtain.
Yeah, it's a real life mosh pit. It's amazing.
Man, I'm hoping someday I get to go. I'm hoping, so we'll see. Next up, I have a bit of a random question category. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be. And you just first thing that comes to your head when it comes to the question.
Okay. All right.
First one, craziest in-match moment.
Craziest in-match moment. Oh crap. I was literally talking about it the other day at work, and now like you asked me about it, I've completely forgot it.
It happens.
Well, this ain't the one, but this is one of them. I was actually teaming with Corey Calhoun in South Carolina, and we did a spot where like it was a tag team like no DQ match. Okay. So we Irish whipped these guys into a wide open field. It's outside show into this wide open field. So I'm running back, like I have to go back and break the count. And so finally, the last time I just roll all the way through the ring, and I get up, and I'm so dizzy I fall back over. And Corey comes over to me and he was like, "Hey man, we're about to get counted out. You got to get in the ring." And I was like, "Dude, I don't know where I'm at." I was like, "Where are we?" And so I remember I turn around, I get in the ring, and when I stand up, I turn back around. The dude gives me a drop kick, and I hit the buckle, and I fall back into Corey. I said, "Shit, man, I forgot we were wrestling." I'd exerted so much energy that I completely forgot where I was. And I just remember like seeing these people just sitting out there, and I was like, "Where are we at?"
That's a crazy one. I always like asking that question because it leads to some pretty entertaining stories.
Yeah.
I've had people talk about, getting a cut right behind their ear. And it's like, no, wait, it was right in front of their ear. And it's like, if they got cut like just a little bit further one direction, their ear would have been sliced off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've heard some doozies. Next question, you kind of mentioned loving dogs. So I'd say this next one would be safe to say dog or cat person. Probably dog person, I would say.
Yeah, 100% dog person.
Yeah, my wife and me, we have both, and I'll admit I'm more of the dog person myself, but one of the cats in particular seems to have taken a real liking to me. Like I'll be laying down getting ready for bed, and then all of a sudden friggin' just climbs up and practically lays its head down on my beard. And I'm like,
"Oh yeah.
Hello." And then we got my Great Dane puppy that sooner or later we're going to have to worry about her drinking out of the sink. But right now she thinks she's a tiny little lap dog. Next up, favorite drink, alcoholic or non, or One of both if you want.
So my favorite non-alcoholic drink would be the classic Diet Dr. Pepper.
Hey, I'm a Dr. Pepper fiend myself.
You can't go wrong with it. And then I don't drink that often, but when I do, like, I just drink Mick Ultras. So I'd probably say Michelob Ultra.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. I only real beer, like, I'm an equal opportunity beer drinker. The only beers that I'll like literally look at somebody and be like, what the fuck are you doing? Like the Keystone, it literally, and I know they won't ever sponsor me after this, but it literally tastes like somebody poured toilet water into a damn can and said, here, drink it. Right now I got Coors Banquet. That's one of my favorites. Or the Stone Cold's American Lager. One of the best damn beers I've ever tasted.
Really? I tried his other one, the
IPA.
Yeah, I tried that one. That one wasn't too good. I wasn't really a fan of that one.
For somebody that isn't normally an IPA person, I'll admit for me, it wasn't as bad as I thought it could have been, because I'm like, Stone Cold, if he don't know how to make a damn beer, then who the hell does?
Yeah.
But out of the two, I'd probably say the American Lager is definitely the better of the two. Next up, I talked a little bit about how I'm doing some series of different Mount Rushmores of this or that in wrestling. If you had to pick a top 4 for you, and I know we probably only need 2 because you mentioned 2 of them that I'm betting are on it. Your personal Mount Rushmore top 4.
Golly, that's tough.
It can be.
Well, 2 would be Sean and Jeff. You'd have to throw Owen Hart up there.
That would be one to get up there, yeah.
And for me, I'd probably put Yokozuna up there as well. Because if you look, Yoko is always at least over 500.
True.
And he moved around like he was 2.
That, yeah. No, and I have a Yokozuna story that I like to tell every once in a while. My first ever live wrestling show was a WWE house show, and I think I was like 3rd grade or some shit. But one of the matches in there was Big Boss Man versus Yokozuna. And my dad for Christmas had gotten us floor seats not too far away from the entrance. So every entrance music, I was over there running like, oh my God. And then Big Boss Man was a favorite of mine. So getting to see him up that close was something else. But then here comes walking by Yokozuna, and I'm some little 3rd grader just looking up like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
No, he was definitely bringing a new definition to the term. He could have gone under either the irresistible force or the immovable object.
Oh, yeah.
Because not very many people can move around Yokozuna.
That's right.
Last but not least, best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
Just believe in yourself.
That would work, because if you're not going to believe in yourself, then sure as hell aren't going to get a promoter or a crowd to believe in you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's 100% it. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, how's a promoter going to believe in you to draw money, or how's the crowd going to believe in you to get behind you, to cheer for you or boo you, So
Definitely a very good point. Well, that is about all I have. I want to, first off, where can people find you social media wise and all that? So if they don't already have their eyes on you, they can go ahead and get them there.
So my Facebook would just be John Gilbert, and then I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Big John G _ on Instagram and Twitter.
All right, we'll be sure to put all that in the description of both YouTube channel and podcast versions. Like I said, that is about all I have. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and best of luck in upcoming shows you got.
Thank you, buddy.